Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I'm just going live on Instagram as well. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Another non-refundable day and another beautiful day here in Brighton. Let me just get a sip of water. How are you doing this morning? I hope you're doing well. Have you taken a couple of minutes to just check in on yourself with how you're doing? Sorry, because oftentimes we can, as I talk about this most mornings, we can just jump out of bed and just get on with our day without giving ourselves or any intention to our day about what we're going to do. So if you are watching, I'm on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and also YouTube. Just drop me a comment if you're on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. No, if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn or YouTube, I can put your comments on the screen. I can't on Instagram. But today is a non-refundable day, as I always say. Every day is a non-refundable day. You can't rewind, you can't recycle, you can't do anything once it's gone. Life is relentless. It just keeps going. So, have the foresight to just spend a couple of minutes with yourself at the beginning of each day, even if it's a couple of minutes. I spend quite a few minutes on myself at the beginning of each and every day. I've already walked my dog, done some meditation, and then I've also recorded a meditation, which actually made me feel like I was having another meditation, which was beautiful. And it was all around intention today, the meditation. So that's on my YouTube, but I will share the link in the comments here if anyone wants to watch that. And it's just a beautiful meditation, how we can be more intentional in our day. And, it's intention is about what you want to happen, right? What you want to happen in your day, and then just letting it happen. But if you don't set any intention, I always feel like we're just like a bumper car being bashed about everywhere. And we've not stopped to check in with ourselves and set some intentions for ourselves. One of the greatest intentions you can set for yourself is to listen to yourself. Like, I promise myself I will listen to myself. I'll have more awareness and more curiosity around myself today. How do you want to feel today? Like, do you want to have more peace, more love, more joy? Whatever it is that you want to have today. What experiences do you want to have today? You can use some of this in your intention setting, and if you watch that meditation, you'll see some of that coming through. So if you're on, say good morning. I want to talk to you about finding your happy place today, because today I am recording an episode with Fern Cotton of the Happy Place podcast, which I feel, well, the joy is just immeasurable. I'm so happy to have been invited to do this, and it's almost like one of those things where you don't want to talk about it because you don't want to jinx it. It's like, do you ever have that in life? There's a psychology phrase for it, and I can't remember what that is, but there is this thing that we do in life when we have this good thing or seemingly good thing that's going to happen to us, but it's almost like so good that we don't want to talk about it, so we don't enjoy the joy of it. And I wrote that in my journal this morning, that I had not allowed myself to enjoy this as much as I should have. So I created some real awareness around that this morning. And on my dog walk, I really lent into that and appreciated that they chose me for a reason, and to embrace that and enjoy the joy of that. Now, ask yourself that. Do you prevent yourself from having the joy of something that is joyful because you're almost worried that you're going to jinx it? Because you're like really doing yourself a disservice. Like, enjoy the fucking joy. Enjoy the joy. But anyway, so yeah, that's my exciting day ahead, recording this podcast. I'm just super excited. But how do we find our happy place? If you go and look and check out Happy Place Official on Instagram, or just put it in on Facebook, you're going to find, the Happy Place podcast, the festival, the book club. There's so many things, and Fern's written a lot of books around happiness and finding peace and calm. So how do you find your happy place? Now, maybe if someone says to you, "Oh, what's your happy place?" or "Where's your happy place?" you might you might say a place. Like I always say, my happy place is the beach. I live very near to the beach. I absolutely love it. It's centering, it's grounding, it's calming, it's relaxing, it energizes me, it soothes me, it does so much for me. Now, maybe you do have a place like that, but there also can be a happy place within you, which is the most important of all the places. So think about that for a minute. How do we find our own happy place without having to leave the building, without having to go anywhere? Because sometimes we're not in a position to go anywhere. And I think the ultimate happy place is within ourselves, right? Because this is you. This is it. You carry this around with you everywhere. You carry this around with you everywhere. This everywhere. So this is where it has to be at, right? You have to be able to tap into this and the soul of you and the all of you at any point. Imagine being able to cultivate some inner happiness. No, I'm not saying like if something really awful is happening, yes, that's very tricky. And I've had some really tricky moments where I've had to try and find some joy and some happiness within me when there's a big part of me that doesn't feel joyful and happy. But I have learnt to cultivate more inner sort of peace and happiness despite some of the things that are going on. You know, a few weeks ago, week before last, I had a really tricky week and I leant into that. I was vulnerable on LinkedIn and I leant into my friends and stuff like that, but also had to lean into myself, because you spend 100% of your time with yourself. You are your greatest asset and your longest commitment. Like, why would you not want to pay some attention to you and use yourself to your highest potential? So you've got to find what works for you in terms of how you can, you know, find that little bit of happiness within you, despite what's going on out in the wider world or what's going on around you. And this is different for everybody. And this is like, it's almost like you've got to work on a prescription or a recipe for yourself to find that inner happy place at any moment in time. And when it works really well, like it worked really well, because at the end of the day, life is a bit of a battlefield, right? Life is hard, or it can be hard. Sometimes I think I must stop saying life is hard, because surely I'm just making it hard because the universe is always listening, right? But you know, life can be tricky. Being an adult is challenging, right? We come up with all different bloody challenges, and we have all of these worries, which, you know, to be honest with you, like hundreds of years ago, they would have loved to have the worries that we've got, because we've got so much luxury we don't even realize it's freaking luxury. But we do have challenges, and life can be a bit of a battlefield. And yeah, so like during that fight, during that battle, that day in, day out battle, or whatever it is, how do you want to feel? You know, how do you want to show up in those circumstances? I'm pretty sure you don't want to be angry and frustrated and annoyed, and because you're just making the battle twice as hard. You want to be calm in those situations. You want to be happy in those situations, or be able to find some joy in what is difficult. And the most difficult of all is like when someone's dying. I remember when my dad was dying, and how did I carry on, and how did I still find purpose and meaning and some joy? Luckily, my dad had a great sense of humor, so I knew I've used humor a lot. My dad would have won it any other way. But, you know, you're just fighting yourself a lot of the time. This is what I think I'm trying to say. Sometimes we're just fighting ourselves. We think we're fighting the wider world, but we're actually fighting ourselves, and we have a lot of control within us. That's the only control we really have. We don't have control over anyone else's mind or what they do. We can try and coerce and influence, and we live in a big world of influence, right? But, you know, it's about influencing yourself. How can you have impact over yourself? So you've got to find these things that help you cultivate your own inner happy place. And for me, and I'll give you some of the things that work for me, they might not work for you. Meditation is really a big one. Like when I have a lot of thoughts and overthinking and worry, I probably do some breath work, and I'll do some meditation, because it just helps me focus on one thing rather than the gazillion things that I'm worrying about or thinking about or overthinking or procrastinating on. And it's just, even if it's for a few minutes, it just quietens the mind for a few minutes. And it just lets everything ebb away a little bit for a while. And your brain has a little bit of a time to pause. Like, we all need to pause. We all need to shut down every now and again. Morning, Lorraine. How are you? So if you're watching this live this morning, please say hi. We're talking about creating your own happy place within you. And a big part of that for me, like I said, is meditation, is breath work, is checking in with myself every morning. Like, how am I feeling mentally, emotionally, and physically? And not just asking those questions flippantly, asking those questions and then giving them some answers. Like, answer truthfully and honestly, because if you're lying to yourself, imagine what you're doing to the wider world. No one else can hear your thoughts. Or write them down. Like, how are you genuinely feeling? How are your emotions? What level are they at? How are you feeling physically? Energized, a bit meh, a bit tired, pumped? What are you feeling? Mentally, how are you feeling? And ask yourself those questions. And then ask yourself, this is the best bit, like, then ask yourself, what do you need? What do I need? And give it to yourself. It's the highest form of self-care, of self-love, actually. You know, love yourself enough to give yourself what you need, whether it's rest, whether it's sleep, whether it's to hydrate more, whether it's exercise, whether it's to just have a few minutes of complete solace and silence. And this is how you're going to learn to find your happy place within instead of without in the wider world, is learning to have that awareness around yourself, to have a conversation with yourself, to be curious about yourself, to be freaking goddamn honest with yourself, and to always remember that it starts with you. Whatever's happening in the world, whatever's going on in your relationship, you are at the core of everything. It starts with you. You are part of that relationship, that opportunity, that business, or whatever it is, that career, whatever's going on. You are part of that. You are the link in everything. Think about it. You're the link in everything that you see, you feel, that's going on in your world, because that's it. It's your mind. It's you. So what is the one thing that you can have some influence over? You. Good morning, Lauren. Yeah, Lauren says she's got a happy place. She feels safe in her bedroom. And this is what I'm talking about, right? We often think about happy place being a space, which is perfectly fine to have that. The beach is my space. But I'm talking about cultivating some happy place within you. How do you get to that feeling of goodness and joy and happiness when life is dealing you some difficult, shitty stuff? How about learning to think, creating a prescription for yourself that helps you have that happy place within? Because that's where it is, that inner view of you, of the world, of what you do, of who you are. Work on that prescription. Try some things out and, like, check in with yourself. What actually does make you feel good? Like, when I do meditation, sometimes it's like, oh, I don't want to do it, I haven't got time. But when I do it, I know it feels bloody good afterwards. And as soon as I start doing it, it feels calming. I relax. So it's part of my prescription of my inner happy place. What's yours? When I run, that is also, it's a physical thing I do, but it absolutely makes me feel, it puts a smile on my face. So as soon as I start running, I feel elevated. So it's part of my prescription. What's part of your prescription for your inner happy place? Breath work is another thing. Like, it really pushes me and I have to work at it. But the feelings I get, the shift that I can get, the release that I can get, all of this other noise out there, all of this other distraction ebbs away. So anyway, that's my thoughts for today. As I go into today, and as you go into your day, live with intention. How are you going to make that happen? What do you want to happen? What do you want to happen? And then like I was saying in breath work and when we do meditation, then you just got to let that go and just let it be what it will be. Like today, I'm doing the podcast, The Happy Place with Fern Cotton, the biggest podcast I've ever been on. I've been on some great podcasts. And this is without question the biggest podcast I've been on. It's a huge podcast, 100 million downloads. But I know the intention for today and the intention around that and what I want to happen. And now I just let it go. And I let that go yesterday. I let that go last night so that I slept calmly. I didn't worry about it. And one of the greatest things you're going to do, and the happiness prescription for you, is to be you, is to do you. Like I think about this podcast, it's like they asked me for a reason. And when they asked me to send in all my stuff and everything, I was just being me. So that's all I'm going to be today, is just me. Now I'm enough and you're enough. And it's getting to understand who you are. Good morning, Ginge. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there. 15 minutes of me rambling this morning. I hope that's been beneficial. I'm going to leave a link to the meditation that I recorded this morning around living with intention for your day. It's a beautiful little meditation. It's only 8 minutes long. And you can use it today or any day to help you live with more purpose, more meaning, be more present, and live intentionally. Have yourself a great non-refundable Wednesday. Do not forget it starts with you. And I will see you potentially back here tomorrow. Have yourself a great day.